Where did you live in 1936?
In Goose Creek.
Would you describe Goose Creek as a thriving metropolis?
It is a remote little village in the southern part of this state.
Exactly. And what was your source of income in Goose Creek in 1936?
My practice.
You practiced openly?
I was available to anyone at any time.
I mean to say, did you set up practice as a doctor of medicine?
When I came to Goose Creek, I had my degree as a doctor of medicine. I did not, however, display my MD upon my door.
Upon your shop door?
I beg your pardon, his shop door.
Isn't it true, Dr. Praetorius, that in that remote little village called Goose Creek, you opened a butcher shop?
An honorable trade, if ever there was one.
In itself, unimpeachable. But what did you sell in your butcher shop?
Meat at cost.
At cost? Without profit? Then how did you make your living?
I made sick people well.
Uh-huh.
Why should that startle you? I still do.
Do you deny that at that time your patients were under the impression that you were a butcher and not a doctor?
Do you prefer the impression given to their patients by so many of our colleagues that they are doctors and not butchers?
Bravo, bravo.
Dr. Praetorius, won't you admit that your practice flourished in Goose Creek because you took advantage of the ignorance of its backward inhabitants, of the pathetic willingness of those poor people to rely upon a belief in miraculous cure rather than scientific knowledge, and because of the readiness with which so many people will prefer the glamorous quack to the licensed practitioner?
Despite your definition of a quack as someone who does not practice medicine according to your rules, Professor Elwell, the fact remains that a quack is an unqualified person who pretends to be a doctor. I was a licensed practitioner and therefore not a quack. And as to the willingness of those so-called ignorant and backward people to rely upon the curative powers of faith and possibly miracles too, I consider faith properly injected into a patient as effective in maintaining life as adrenaline, and a belief in miracles has been the difference between living and dying as often as any surgeon's scalpel.
That is not the issue under discussion.
It is precisely the issue. Whether the practice of medicine should become more and more intimately involved with the human beings it treats, or whether it's to go on in this present way of becoming more and more a thing of pills, serums, and knives, until eventually we shall undoubtedly evolve an electronic doctor.
The issue at hand is quite simply that you amassed a fortune by treating sick people who believed that you were a miracle-working butcher.
I could not have amassed that fortune unless I had made an enormous number of sick people well.
All this folderol, as I see it, has got nothing to do with the ethics and honor of our profession. It has everything to do with envy of one man's genius for healing the sick, of his use of remedies you can't prescribe by in bottles or apply with a knife. Call Praetorius a psychiatrist, high priest, voodoo, medicine man, witch doctor, anything you like. But don't investigate him, gentlemen. Learn from him.